It's been a long off season without football, but FanDuel has spent it getting into the best shape of their lives. That means this. FanDuel is ready for more. More ways to play. More ways to challenge your friends. And most importantly, more ways to win. FanDuel also has new options for playing daily fantasy with your friends, because the only thing better than winning cash is winning your friends cash. Right now, you can get a $20 bonus when you make your first deposit on FanDuel. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/Stephen A. Age and state restrictions apply.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Cut the damn music. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airways of ESPN Radio. Not only is it in 250 plus markets across the United States of America or an AM or FM dial near you, not only is it on Sirius XM Channel 80, ESPN Radio on Sirius XM Channel 80, but this is the second day of our debut on ESPN News, being simulcast on ESPN News, as it will be from here on out from 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. to noon Pacific Coast time, and all the hours in between. Check your local listings. In case you haven't noticed, I am having a very bad day. I am not a happy man right now. And it's a couple of things that's going on in the NFL that's getting on my damn nerves. Some things in basketball that are not getting on my nerves, namely Carmelo Anthony signing with Houston. And then, of course, there's the New York Yankees, and I'll get into my football in just a second. I am very, very, very disgusted. What we have is a situation right now where the New York Yankees are 10 games out, and let me just get the gratuitous stuff out of the way, or the obligatory stuff out of the way. The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Home Insurance. Get your quote at Progressive.com today. And I'm supposed to start these segments by reminding you that it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. But I had a brain fart for a second because I'm disgusted. My New York Yankees are down 10 games. Now, I told you before, no, stop laughing at me. Now, I told you before, I told you weeks ago that the AL East race was over. The second that the Yankees got swept in 4 games at Fenway Park and went down 9.5 games, it was over. So why do I sit here upset and pretty peeved and ticked off right now? It's very, very simple. Do you know that my New York Yankees had the audacity, the unmitigated gall to lose to the New York Mets yesterday? The New York Mets. Baseball's definition of abomination. The New York Mets. And you know what made it even worse? They lost to a New York Mets team with a pitcher in Jacob deGrom who I wanted. It's the very guy I've been crying for weeks, leading up to the trading deadline for the New York Yankees. Why? Because the Houston Astros are there, with Verlander and Keuchel and those boys. And I don't care that McCullers is injured. It doesn't matter. He'll be back. With the Boston Red Sox, the best team in baseball. Not quietly, but certainly not with the noise and the pizzazz and the pomp and circumstance of the New York Yankees. Just flat out balling. Mookie Betts, MVP candidate. Chris Sale, Cy Young Award candidate. Even with David Price not developing nearly enough to be the solid, reliable number 2 that you need him to be, it doesn't matter. They're still ahead of people like the Baltimore Orioles by 50 damn games. And they got the Yankees by double digits. By 10, it's over. Aaron Judge, I'm sorry. He's got his little wrist injury. He hasn't even taken swings at the bat. Sanchez, what is he doing? I've lost faith in Severino. I don't give a damn how good he looks. He didn't look great against Boston. Tanaka, Masahiro. Tanaka. I'm supposed to rely on him? I'm just disgusted. Absolutely, positively disgusted. This gets on my last damn nerves. The Yankees are trailing by 10 games in the American League East, CeCe Sabathia has now been placed on a DL with a knee injury. Apparently, Captain Crunch has hindered him. It used to be his strength, his spinach for his Popeye mentality, and now that's not working. Aaron Judge still not taking swings after breaking his wrist. Severino, 7.50 ERA over his last 7 starts. Damn it! Damn it! Now I understand that the Yankees are going to make the playoffs. But this is baseball. You know what that means. One game. One game. It's not a best 2 or 3 or 5. It's not a best 4 or 7. It's one game. After 162 games, it's one game. And I know somewhere the great Buster Olney, the great Tim Kirkchin are just laughing at me. Michael K., damn it. Y'all laughing at me. Because Warren, Don Juan LaGreca, oh, you people make me sick sometimes when it comes to this stuff. They live to laugh at me because I get emotional about my Yankees. It bothers me, damn it. I'm going to be cool. I'm going to keep my cool. But I just want everybody to know I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned. And I need some levity in my life. I need to laugh just a little bit, y'all. And I was looking for something, and I found it. I figured it out. And you know what I figured out, ladies and gentlemen? I got something to laugh about. You don't want to know what it is? Aaron Rodgers, quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. Did you hear what happened? He actually was approached by the media members because you got rookies complaining about it. A rookie? Somebody that hasn't played? Somebody who's wet behind the ears, breath smelling like Similac? You trying to tell me a rookie is complaining about Aaron Rodgers and y'all had the audacity to approach him about this nonsense, this drivel? Have you lost your ever-loving minds? He's Aaron freaking Rodgers. Who gives a damn what a rookie feels about him? You're a rookie. Shut up. Let me be very, very clear. I feel the same way about rookies that I feel about most children. You have the right to do what you're told. If you jeopardize or forfeit that right, whatever perilous circumstances you find yourself on, so be it, damn it. Who the hell do you think you are if you are a rookie? Talking about Aaron Rodgers, the nerve, the unmitigated gall, the audacity. Who the hell do you think you are? A rookie? Now, I'm not an advocate of violence. I'm a lover, not a fighter. I'm not an advocate of violence. But I will tell you this. If there was ever a time where a media member deserved to be at least figuratively slapped, that would be the reason. You have the audacity to approach Aaron Rodgers about what a rookie had to say. And by the way, the season hasn't even started yet, which means the rookie hasn't even played yet. It's bad enough you don't have any credentials because you're a rookie, but you officially don't have any credentials because you haven't even played yet. And you're complaining because Aaron Rodgers called you out last week, questioning your effort? Well, needless to say, Aaron Rodgers spoke to the media about this since they insulted him by even presenting him with this question. Here was what he had to say, doubling down on his criticism of teammates.
I hope we're not that soft. I hope we can, hear comments or read comments and not get offended by things. It's a professional environment. It's not a personal environment. The things I'm saying, and I don't have some vendetta against any player. I care about winning, number one. And I'm going to say and do the things that I feel like can advance us. It's going to be tough at some points. It's not a popularity contest all the time. Obviously, as a human, you like being liked and appreciated, but I'm trying to win games because that's my job.
Only problem I have with Aaron Rodgers' explanation is that he gave a damn explanation. That's it. He's Aaron freaking Rodgers. As a talent, the greatest quarterback I have ever seen in my life. And I'll say it for the purposes, just like I say it on TV every morning. Now that the Stephen A. Smith radio show is a simulcast on ESPN News, I'll say it for the viewers out there and for the listeners what I always say about Aaron Rodgers. And you know what that is. He's a bad man. Who the hell is a rookie to talk about him? Was it Randall Cobb? Jordy Nelson is in Oakland, so we know it wasn't him. Was it Devontae Adams? If it wasn't any of those guys, was it even Ty Montgomery? Not that they would have a right to say anything about him, but at least they've been around. They ain't figuratively wearing diapers with poop in it all over the place, looking like a bunch of novices. Who the hell do you think you are to talk and question Aaron Rodgers? Shut up. Do what you're told. Run the routes. Put forth the necessary kind of energy and show that you are relevant and worthy not only of playing time, but having this man throw a football to you because he doesn't have to do it. See, this is the idiocy of a receiver. That's how you know they're a rookie, because how could you even let the issue get out that you were complaining? What if Aaron Rodgers just decides, I'm not going to throw you the football. Okay, I won't say nothing to you. You just won't see the football. How relevant will you be? He is not only the quarterback, he is not only the franchise player for the Green Bay Packers. The only reason that they are relevant in the National Football League in this day and age. He also happens to be the greatest talent we have ever seen with the human eye from the quarterback position. He's that damn good. I just don't understand it. I really don't understand stuff. Sometimes you folks just be getting on my, I just don't understand y'all. I just don't understand what the hell y'all thinking about. Getting on Aaron Rodgers. But I digress. Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You can also reach me on Twitter at Stephen A. Smith, on Facebook at Stephen A. Smith, on Instagram at Stephen A. Smith as well. That's with a PH, not a V. So feel free to reach out to your boy anytime you want to. You know, all of this noise that's being made about Saquon Barkley. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not knocking Saquon Barkley. I know he's a stud. Brother can play. Heavy workload at Penn State, catching passes out of the backfield, not just running with the football. We get all of that. 5'11", 5'10", 233 pounds, trunks for legs. You know, I see Barry Sanders type of potential maybe. Who knows? When you saw him how he juked the Browns when they played over about a week ago or so. We get it. We understand that Saquon Barkley is special. We look at it and we say, okay, huge expectations for the New York Giants. I would challenge y'all to tell me what they should be. Because Eric Flowers is still at your right tackle on your offensive line. This kid, Will Hernandez, that you drafted, he's a stud. We're going to see what he does. Nate Solder, you got over from New England. We're going to see, we know what he can do. The offensive line is expected to be better. We'll see how that materializes. But obviously the Philadelphia Eagles, the reigning defending Super Bowl champions, with Carson Wentz expected to return at some point early in the season, is a plus, and they're predicted to be the ones that are going to win the NFC East. Do you believe that the New York Giants are going to be better than the Dallas Cowboys? Des Bryant is gone. Jason Witten is gone. You have more athleticism and more speed at the wideout spots with still experienced dudes like Beasley and Terrence Williams still there. You got Ezekiel Elliott, not expected to be suspended, so he's going to be around for all 16 games, presumably. Dak Prescott looks better with him on the football field with him. So are you really, really sure that you want to give the Giants the edge when Eli Manning is 37 years of age, when Odell Beckham Jr. hasn't been hit yet, and you're wondering what, it's going to be like for him once he steps on the football field? Sterling Shepard's got a lot of promise. He's still growing. Evan Ingram has a lot of promise. He's still growing. Saquon Barkley ain't too complicated to know how to run the football and catch passes out of the backfield and make things happen with your legs. But that offensive line and Eli Manning is not a question for y'all. That defense for the New York Giants, which Baker Mayfield, fresh out of college, was picking apart a little bit, and Tyrod Taylor was doing before him. That doesn't concern you? Concerns me. Concerns me. But I'll also bring this subject up about the Giants, which also has something to do with their Los Angeles Rams, which also has something to do with the Oakland Raiders. Khalil Mack, Aaron Donald, Odell Beckham Jr. Who is it most important to get signed? Who needs to be taken care of the most? Because I got to admit to you, there's legitimate cases for all three. Odell Beckham Jr. is a superstar. He's box office. You walk through the turnstiles looking forward to watching Odell Beckham Jr. So because that's your reality, one would surmise you got to take care of him. The flip side to it is you don't know how healthy he's going to be. You're paying on projection and potential as opposed to what you have done for me lately. And his health could be a concern. And clearly the Giants have other concerns because they're a bit reticent to make that commitment to him because Odell Beckham Jr., remember when he signed that contract with Nike? He was feeling himself just a little bit, if y'all remember correctly. And the Giants felt like, hey, his actions on the field, his temperament on the field was a byproduct of him knowing he had gotten paid on the endorsement side. So what if we pay him on the football side? How's he going to act then? I say pay him anyway because he deserves it. But those are questions. Then we have Aaron Donald. He's 27 years of age. He's an absolute stud, universally recognized as the best positional player in the game. People are talking about how his level of dominance is comparable to J.J. Watt before J.J. Watt got injured. Now J.J. Watt is back. So who knows what that's going to turn into? My thinking simple. And Ndamukong Suh on that line with Donald and Brockers, and Los Angeles Rams going to be a monster. And you've got some support in that secondary because you got Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib in lockdown mode. Now, amongst your linebacking crew in Los Angeles, that might be a question mark. You've got some question marks there. You got to deal with that. But that elevates the importance of Donald and those boys more, which is why there should be even more of an incentive to take care of him. Not to mention the fact that he's homegrown, he's one of your own, and when you made the playoffs last year, it was without Ndamukong Suh, without Marcus Peters, without Aqib Talib. So how you going to take care of them and don't take care of him? Took care of Todd Gurley, but nobody can knock that. He's the first quarterback anybody would take in fantasy football, which is what I'm also open to discussing today. Then you got the situation involving Khalil Mack, and that might be the most disgusting situation imaginable. So let me get this straight. Money is supposed to be an issue with the Oakland Raiders, right? You know that same Oakland Raiders team that's leaving for Las Vegas? Because city officials in Oakland couldn't get a new stadium okayed. I don't know whether it was public funding or whatever the case may be, but something derailed it. And obviously the Oakland Raiders couldn't get the new stadium, so they're moving. And they're going to Vegas. Don't you have a license to be marketable? You really think John Gruden's going to be marketable if y'all ain't winning? Who's going to help you win? And John Gruden coming out. First of all, John Gruden hasn't even spoken to Khalil Mack, which to me is ridiculous. Unless, of course, Mark Davis says, we have no intentions of re-signing Khalil Mack. We need to move on without him. We're going to trade him. And you better get some compensation from him, some equitable compensation for him. This dude started at Buffalo, worked his way up into being one of the elite defensive players the collegiate game has ever seen. And we've seen that materialize and transition onto the pro level because he's a 3-time Pro Bowler. He is special. Does things the right way, shows up on the field all the time, ready to ball out. And we got question marks about paying Khalil Mack. Hell is wrong with you? And by the way, I don't want to hear stuff about being broke. If you so broke, why did John Gruden get $100 million? 10 years, $100 million guaranteed. Incentives that pump it up to an additional $18 to $20 million. Now, I ain't faulting John Gruden. I'd take the money too. But this is a man that you're giving $100 million to that hadn't coached in the last 10 years. He was busy calling Monday Night Football games for the family right here at ESPN. He hadn't coached in 10 years. In the previous 6 years, he did coach, which was more than 10 years ago. He missed the playoffs 4 of those last 6 years and never won a playoff game. Last time John Gruden won a playoff game was the last time he won a Super Bowl, which was 2003. It's 2018. It's 2018, y'all. And remember, 2003 was for the 2002 season. So that's 16 seasons, 16 years removed from the last time John Gruden has really been relevant as a coach. He's always relevant as a football mind. He's a brilliant football mind. He's forgotten more football than most of us know. I love him personally. But $100 million, damn. Bill Belichick ain't getting that. Tom Coughlin ain't getting that. Sean Payton ain't getting that. Mike McCarthy ain't getting that. Andy Reid ain't getting that. Doug Peterson just got a new contract with inflation and everything else kicking into gear. He ain't get that. I mean, come on. We can pay John Gruden $100 million, but we can't find money for Khalil Mack. One might have nothing to do with y'all, but it has something to do with the other as far as I'm concerned. Something's got to give. It just has to give. We need to stop playing games, and we need to call it like it is. If you don't have enough money for Khalil Mack, you shouldn't have that much money for John Gruden. You found a way to take care of Derek Carr. I understand how important the quarterback position is. But how did that work out for you last season? Khalil Mack, no matter the circumstances, been balling. He deserves his money. Aaron Donald deserves his money. Odell Beckham Jr. deserves his money. My question to y'all is, who deserves it first? 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Back with more on the Yankees, on a slew of NFL items. And please don't think that I forgot about the NBA as well. A former New York Knick is in Houston. Actually, 2 of them are there now. Will that work? We'll talk about that and so much more coming up. You're listening live to Stephen A. on ESPN Radio and simulcast live on ESPN New. Back with more in a minute.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm as happy as a clam.
Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will be, quote, as happy as a clam, unquote. The Geico legal team cannot accurately verify clams even experience the complex human emotional state known as happiness. As an invertebrate mollusk living half submerged on the ocean floor, with no arms, legs, or wireless access, what's there to be happy about? A clam's all like, oh, I'm so happy I didn't get turned into New England clam chowder today. Pronounced regionally as chowder. Chowder. Oh, that's so fun to say. What were we talking about again?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
888-SAY-ESPN is always the number to call up. That's 888-729-3776. Top of hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show today. We'll have our very own Ryan Clark in studio sitting right next to me, NFL analyst extraordinaire, former Super Bowl champion with the Pittsburgh Steelers, now an NFL analyst for the family. You can catch him on NFL Live later on today as well. He'll be on with yours truly at 30 minutes. At the top of hour number 2 of this show today. By the way, a New York Jet is making news for all the wrong reasons. Terrell Pryor, former player with the Washington Redskins, former player with the Cleveland Browns, now wide receiver with the New York Jets, revealed that he had broke his ankle in May. That didn't make New York Jets coach Todd Bowles very happy at all. Quote, I feel he should keep his mouth shut and leave the injuries to me, Bowles announced Tuesday, per Neil Best of Newsday. The rebuke of Pryor came after the receiver struggled in a scrimmage against his former team, the Redskins. Redskins safety DJ Swearinger is seen approaching Pryor and unfurling a fake swing at his former teammate. One gets the sense, according to the article, Pryor was less than adored during his run with the Skins. After a promising 1,000-yard season with the Browns in 2016, he landed with a thud in Washington, catching just 20 passes last season while dealing with ligament damage in his right ankle, a setback that landed him on injured reserve in November. He revealed Monday that he underwent a pair of off-season surgeries, saying, per the Washington Post, one was the foot, one was the ankle. I tore 3 ligaments in my ankle, my foot, and then I broke my ankle in May. I can understand why coaches don't want a player to let folks know that he's presently injured. But if you're talking about something in past tense from months ago, what's the problem? I don't understand why Todd Bowles reacted that way. Love Todd Bowles. Don't understand why he reacted that way. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Let's go to the phones. James, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me. James, are you there? Bye, James. Victor, you're live with Stephen A. What's up, Victor?
Yeah.
You're live on the air, Victor. Go ahead.
All right, so I want to talk about the Saquon Barkley situation.
Sure.
So do you feel like he's being overhyped based off what everyone's been saying?
No, I don't think that he's being overhyped in terms of his ability. I expect big things from him. But what I'm saying is that if you've got a suspect offensive line and people are thinking your quarterback is suspect and Odell Beckham Jr. is not 100%, cats can stack the line of scrimmage and force the Giants to go in a different direction, then how effective will you be?
So will he be considered a bust if he doesn't get a 1,000-yard season this year?
No. Circumstances in the world of football obviously take precedent. Now, if you average 22 to 24 carries a game and you rush for less than 1,000 yards, that's a problem. But if you don't get that much action because they're throwing the football more, they're using you as a decoy, or they're throwing the ball to you out of the backfield, then that's not a big deal. All right.
Also, I want to talk about the Packers. So
Go ahead.
We know Aaron Rodgers.
Go ahead, Victor.
So we know Aaron Rodgers. This is kind of like the first time I'm seeing him actually call out somebody publicly, especially a player that he doesn't really have a good relationship with.
He never even mentioned, by the way, he never even mentioned the players. He just said they. The veterans showed up, the rookies weren't. He never said who.
Well, we could automatically point out who he's talking about because he named the players that he wasn't referring to.
Yeah, he named the veteran players. Yes.
So do you think that the new Aaron Rodgers will help the Packers win more games?
Did you just ask me if Aaron Rodgers would help the Packers win more games? Is that what you just asked me?
I mean, we know he's been carrying the team, but I'm saying the way that he's acting towards the other players, do you think that will affect the Packers in a positive way?
Well, who cares? It ain't going to affect the dudes that's playing. What rookie do you know is guaranteed playing time on the Green Bay Packers? At the wide receiver spot. You got Devontae Adams, you got Randall Cobb, you got Geronimo Allison. They're going to play. What rookie do you know is going to come out of the woodwork and wreak havoc? Who's this person?
I don't know, but I say all of this as a Packers fan. I'm actually a Packers fan.
Well, then you should know the answer to those questions instead of asking me. Because I'm telling you right now, Aaron Rodgers on anybody's team is going to be a significant upgrade. I don't give a damn if he was on New England. It would be an upgrade to Tom Brady. That's how bad of a man Aaron Rodgers is. That's right, I said it. Have a nice day. Barry, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Stephen A., nice to speak to you, man. I'm from Philly. Nice miss you here. Anyway, talk about Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
People always say Tom Brady has all the talent. He won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. No Gronk. He won it with Amendola, Hogan, Edelman, and Bennett. They're good, but they're not great. Tom Brady, in my opinion, has proved himself over and over as being the greatest.
Time. All right, you said prove himself in terms of being the greatest?
Opinion, I've been around a while. I've seen Joe Montana and Tom Brady are the two greatest I've ever seen, and that includes Aaron Rodgers.
We can't definitively disagree with you there because the results speak for themselves. He's a 5-time champion. He's been to 8 Super Bowls. We know what Tom Brady can do, and nobody's taking anything away from him. He's a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. He's in the discussion as the greatest ever, so nobody can summarily dismiss what you're saying. I'm just saying Tom Brady can throw that football, okay? No question about it. The system helps. having a tight end to rely upon from the days of Hernandez to Gronkowski, from receivers like Branch and others to Randy Moss, now Hogan and these boys, Amendola, Edelman when they were there, etc. Even though these are not all world individuals outside of Randy Moss and Gronkowski, the bottom line is they could play in this system helps. I look at Aaron Rodgers. I don't think about system. I think you can put Aaron Rodgers anywhere, playing for any coach. I think Aaron Rodgers pretty much is by his damn self half the time with some of the decisions that Green Bay has made in terms of what they put out on the field with him. And still he finds a way to be great. That's how I view Aaron Rodgers.
Okay. I just wanted to say what I thought. I still think Tom Brady last year against the Eagles, he broke the record for passing.
Yes.
They lost the game because they have no defense.
Yeah.
And he's my best, but I understand where you're coming from.
Hey, listen, I'm not taking anything from Tom Brady. He was phenomenal in the Super Bowl. And Bill Belichick, as far as I'm concerned, cost the New England Patriots a Super Bowl by benching Malcolm Butler. If Malcolm Butler plays, I think that the New England has a better chance of winning this game. I think considering how close it was, you can make a legitimate argument that Bill Belichick cost the New England Patriots a championship.
Exactly. This will be his last year, I believe.
I don't think so.
About that
I don't think
fast?
so. I don't think so. I don't think Bill Belichick's going anywhere because I think Mr. Kraft will keep him on board because him and Mr. Kraft are closer than people realize. That's my personal opinion. I appreciate the call, though. Thank you so much. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Continue to listen live with Stephen A., ESPN Radio. Oh, I got something to say about Mr. Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys and why he is not what a lot of people are thinking he is in this day and age. Stick around. I'll explain exactly what I'm talking about. Up next with the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Before I get back to the phones real quick, prior to talking to my man Ryan Clark at the top of hour number 2, right here with the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio and ESPN News, Jerry Jones refused to comment about the national anthem. Remember a couple of weeks ago when he had his hat on? He didn't stand as our president requested from the players. Stand at attention, hand on heart, honoring our flag of the United States of America. Jerry Jones didn't comment about that. And my brother Max Kellerman on First Take airs on ESPN every weekday morning from 10 a.m. To noon Eastern Time, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific. Max called Jerry Jones, specifically as it pertained to the issue of the national anthem and the flag. He called Jerry Jones a fraud. A phony. Ladies and gentlemen, I respectfully disagree. Jerry Jones, you can call him whatever you want. Jerry Jones is not a phony on this issue. Because it's never been about patriotism with Jerry Jones. It's been about dollars. Now, when are we going to just stop playing games? Jerry Jones is about money. When Jerry Jones spoke to the players last season and he summoned them into a meeting room, he said, quote, "This is a business meeting," end quote. And he basically highlighted to them, I'm about making money. Last time I checked, so were you. If you cost me money, I'm going to cost you money. And this issue potentially costs us money. And oh, by the way, Jerry Jones has been consistent in this respect. What's that guy's name? John Schnatter, what for Papa John's? Don't you know that he's gone for being attached to some relatively incendiary remarks? Wasn't good for Papa John's. Did you know that Jerry Jones owns a string of Papa John's, Papa John's franchises? Did you know that? Peyton Manning did too. But did you know that Jerry Jones owns that? So why is this guy gone? Because he wasn't good for the business. Say what you want about Jerry Jones, but you cross the line when you call him fraudulent. He's not fraudulent at all. He's very, very clear about what his agenda is. Now, some of you out there want to believe it's about that red, white, and blue. America's a great nation. Well, Jerry Jones says believe what you want. Just make sure you get me paid. That's what he's concerned about. Make no mistake about it. Sandy, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead real quick, buddy.
Thank you. Thanks for taking my call, Stephen. I wanted to talk to you. I'm glad you brought up this issue. I totally agree with you when you said it is time for the protest to end. They need to take their march to Washington, because I also agree with you when you said this is a subject that this is a topic that the president has hijacked, and he has made this his agenda. This is his agenda now. It's not the NFL players' agenda anymore. And you are right. They need to take it to Washington. Let the legislators do something about the injustice in this country. Another thing I wanted to ask you real quick question. What do you think about Carmelo Anthony going to the Houston Rockets?
I love it.
My opinion, I don't think he's going to do much for the Houston Rockets, but I'd like to hear from you. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you so much for calling, Sandy. I think Carmelo Anthony's going to be just fine. First of all, I thank you for agreeing with me about my point about how the protest should come to an end, because I mean that. I think that the NFL players collectively on their off day should go up to Capitol Hill. I promise you, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, will join them to address issues of racial oppression, racial inequality, police brutality, and some of the issues that have permeated our society. If the NFL players get involved and they marched on Washington, they'll do it, and the president would have not a word to say, because it wouldn't be on Sunday afternoon while football games are being played, while a national anthem is being played, rather. That wouldn't be the case, and he would have no leg to stand on. As it pertains to Carmelo Anthony, I think he's going to be just fine. Houston will take a step back defensively because Trevor Ariza and Luke Mbah-a-Moute are gone. But they will take a significant step up offensively because Carmelo Anthony, the career 24.7 point per game scorer, will be playing alongside one of the great point guards of this generation in Chris Paul. And that will only help Melo. It will not hurt. Ryan Clark, NFL analyst extraordinaire for ESPN. He's up next with Stephen A. to start off hour number 2.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
It's been a long off season without football, but FanDuel has spent it getting into the best shape of their lives. That means this. FanDuel is ready for more ways to play, more ways to challenge your friends, and most importantly, more ways to win. FanDuel also has new options for playing daily fantasy with your friends, because the only thing better than winning cash is winning your friends cash. Right now, you can get a $20 bonus when you make your first deposit on FanDuel. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/Stephen A. Age and state restrictions apply.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio, which is presented to you by Progressive Insurance. Small business protection just got easier. With more than 30 coverage options available, Progressive has you covered. More ProgressiveCommercial.com. Ryan Clark, former Super Bowl champion with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have no idea why he ever went to the Washington Redskins. I have no idea why he ever went there. But former Super Bowl champion with the Pittsburgh Steelers is in studio with yours truly, giving us the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. What's going on, Big Tom? How are you, man?
What's up, my guy? You ready to roll?
I'm ready to roll. You ready to roll? Because we on national TV. They simulcasted the radio show.
Hey, let's get it then.
I don't know why they gave me additional national television time. I don't know why they did it, right? I don't know why they did it. But more props to them. Listen, let me tell my audience what happened with you and I today. We were arguing on television earlier because
I was more like winning.
You were not winning, Ryan Clark. You were not winning.
That's what was happening. I was winning.
Ryan Clark, you actually were talking about Big Ben Roethlisberger as if he could have not done any better, or Aaron Rodgers could not have done any better than him. The blasphemy coming out of your mouth.
But we're talking about ifs, right? We're saying if Aaron Rodgers was
why
there.
Why not? You don't.
All I know is
okay.
Aaron Rodgers is I agree with you. He's the baddest man to ever throw a football.
Okay.
Right? So I'm not debating on if Aaron Rodgers.
You acknowledging that.
You were right for once on that. You were right. But Ben Roethlisberger has been to 3 Super Bowls. He's won 2 Super Bowls. And when you look at what he's been able to accomplish with that team throughout his career, and now you're going to use it as a negative because he hasn't won because he's had Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell with the defense that I have to come on and try to defend
I don't know why you even try.
For the last 5 years.
That's right.
When you lose 45-42 to the Jacksonville Jaguars
more like
in the
38.
playoffs.
He gave Big Ben Roethlisberger gave Jacksonville a touchdown in that game.
Okay,
so
they got
more like 38.
Okay, so they got one, but you put up 42 points.
Okay.
And you mean to tell me before that game, if they would have told you the Steelers would score 42 points and lose, you would have believed that?
I felt that last touchdown was basically meaningless because the Steelers already were out of it and Jacksonville was in it prevent. But that's neither here nor there. Okay, I understand it. My biggest thing with this, Ben Roethlisberger is a 2-time champion. He's been to the Super Bowl 3 times. I get the fact he's a future Hall of Famer. I'm not taking anything away from him. But I think that you diminish the importance of a guy that sits around and says, you know what, maybe I don't have it anymore. I mean, he did say that after he threw 5 interceptions against Jacksonville. There have been question marks that he has created as it pertains to his zest to play because he's had some trepidation about whether or not he wanted this career to continue because of the hits that he's accumulated over the years. What do you say to that? You have no concern about that stuff?
No, I don't. What I have concern about is how you go and play the game of football. Does Big Ben sit in the pocket and shrug off sackers as they try to sack him? Does he extend plays and hit balls downfield to Juju Smith-Schuster, to Antonio Brown? And we saw him do those things last year. When you look at his stats from the year before, he had more passing yards. There were more interceptions, obviously, because of the Jacksonville 5-interception game, but he also still threw 29 touchdowns. So Big Ben was productive. Antonio Brown is the player he is when Big Ben is the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, not when he's out. So Ben has a lot to do with that success. Obviously, Le'Veon Bell, we both agree he's the best running back in the league. But still, with those things, you have to defend. You have to make plays on special teams. Big Ben is not the reason this team hasn't won Super Bowls recently. There's been other problems on this team, mainly the defense. I think he still has it. He still wants to play. You can't pay attention to what he says because and I've told you this for a long time, Big Ben's relationship with the media is a strange one. Big Ben, Coach Tomlin will come in every year, don't talk about injuries. What does Ben do?
Talk about
injuries. Right? He has a bad game and you get, maybe I can't play no more. He has a great game and what do you get? Oh, maybe this Cowboy still has a lot left. What he says and his words aren't what you take. You watch him play. But then you see this offseason when Mason Rudolph comes in, and we're talking about Big Ben, the best ping pong player I know, the best garbage can around the world shooter I know, the best softball player.
I'd like to play some ping pong against Big Ben.
Yeah, I know.
I know he is. I know he's special.
He's a guy that was a 4-sport letterman. Right? So
I take it back. I don't want to play.
Yeah, so you bring Mason Rudolph in and he says, you know what? Mason gonna have to wait. It's gonna be a long time before he takes the reins of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Comes back in the best shape he's ever been in. Hires a new trainer, hires a nutritionist.
Why now, Ryan? I mean, listen, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, all of these boys have been around forever. Why is it now that Mason Rudolph is around? Rudolph out of Oklahoma.
Here's the thing.
Why now?
Stephen A., here's what I always say. I don't care what motivates you to be great. I don't need to know your why. I just need to know that you're doing it.
I guess what I'm asking, but I'm not asking a why. I'm saying
we're talking today, though.
Yeah, because I'm like, doesn't it bother you then that you're saying it now? That means it hasn't been there for the last several years.
No, it just means people have different approaches, right? People have I was James Harrison before the videos, right? James showed you all this video. The guy he trains with was my trainer. I introduced the two. So I did all those same things because I had to. Troy trained differently because he could, right? The style of Big Ben's play, he felt like he didn't need those things. Now, in getting older and understanding, okay, my game may have to change and I may have to do different things, he sought the work or sought the people to help him do that. Tom Brady wasn't always TB12. He wasn't always doing those things. But as he searched for ways to continue to play as he got up in age was when he started to diet the way he does, live the way he does. And I think Big Ben understands that now. He wants to be better. He wants to be this quarterback that you say he needs to be improved, that he's an elite level quarterback or prove he still has the fire, and he's doing those things. You don't have to worry about Big Ben. He's going to be there this year.
I normally would take your word for it, and I'm still going to take your word for it now. Even though Ryan Clark, now that he's not playing, is bigger and more muscular than he was when he was playing, which I'll let you explain another time. We're talking to Ryan Clark, our NFL analyst extraordinaire, right here with Stephen A. on the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio and on ESPN News. Let's transition to the NFC East. Saquon Barkley has arrived in New York. Because he has arrived in New York, everybody's raving about Saquon Barkley and what the Giants are expected to do. You listen to folks, they're talking like as if the Giants going to win this division. I see the Giants in third place, even with Eli, even with OBJ, even with Sterling Shepard, and of course Saquon Barkley. I don't see the Giants being better than Dallas. I don't see the Giants being better than the reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. What about you?
I agree with you with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think that team is better than the New York Giants. I think they're better than the New York Giants, mainly at the quarterback position. We look at Carson Wentz and what he was able to do under Doug Peterson's tutelage.
Okay.
You have to have that team first. The way that defense finished the season and the way they play, rushing the passer, tying in with the secondary and the back end. Okay. I believe they can be better than Dallas. When you look at the New York Giants, when you look at the weapons that they have offensively, you're right. And it's different than last year. Remember when coming into last year, everybody's like, oh, they got Brandon Marshall and they have, they drafted Evan Ingram, and you have all these different players. Ingram's had a year to grow. Odell Beckham Jr. is back and healthy. But you think about the Will Hernandez pick. You think about Nate Solder on the outside now. Now you're trying to plug some of those pieces.
Eric Flowers still at right tackle. Come on now. Let's go. Come on now.
We got him off of the left.
Okay, we got him off the left, but he's on the right now. He's still on the line. He's still on the line.
We're one step better. I think he's in a more natural NFL position for him. And so when you look at some of those things, combined with the fact that you do have Saquon Barkley now, and there is that home run threat in the backfield. You look at his first run, those are some of the difficult things that he can do that you didn't see the New York Giants being able to do. A backside block is missed. He makes the jump cut, sets up the cornerback outside, Denzel Ward, and hits it up for 39 yards. When you can do those things and have that type of big strike capability in three places, right? You have it outside with Odell Beckham Jr., you have it inside with Evan Ingram, and now you have it in the backfield with Saquon Barkley. Schematically, that presents a problem. I believe going into the season, I would put the New York Giants ahead of the Dallas Cowboys.
Wow, Ryan Clark right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Top three teams in the NFC are who? I've got Philadelphia.
Okay.
I've got New Orleans. And I got the Los Angeles Rams. You disagree with any of that?
I do not disagree.
You do
I
not
do not disagree. I put New Orleans after the Rams, though.
Okay.
And I'll be honest with you, I only have Philadelphia ahead of the Rams out of Super Bowl respect. I believe Jared Goff takes another step with Sean McVay. Now you have Brandon Cooks, who you've added as a deep ball threat on the outside, which they really didn't have. Sammy Watkins was a good receiver. He battled some toe injuries. He came back from that. Not the same explosive player that he once was. Now you've added legit speed to the outside. Obviously, we've talked about Todd Gurley before. 19 touchdowns, a threat both receiving and rushing the football. Cooper Kupp, he's going to be better. But I think where this team has taken the next step is in the secondary. Defensive, their defensive back coach Aubrey is one of my good friends, and just his excitement about having Marcus Peters, having Aqib Talib in a room with a young coach who kind of understands the personalities, allows those guys to play, and you put that with LaMarcus Joyner. Now you have Ndamukong Suh up front. Michael Brockers was already a dog in the front end. You lose Alex Ogletree, but you have people that will replace him at linebacker, and also Wade Phillips as the coach. This team, to me, is put together better than any team on both sides of the ball in the NFC.
But Ryan Clark, Aaron Donald ain't signed yet.
Right, and that's big.
That's a big deal.
And that's a huge deal. I believe this defense is still really good without him. Better with him. Don't get me wrong. Better with him. But you can let Aaron, and I think Aaron Donald deserves to be the highest player at the position ever. He's that good. He's that good.
Right.
He is as dominant as he's maybe more dominant at his position than Aaron Rodgers is at his.
What about his?
I believe he's that good.
Is he more dominant than J.J. Watt was when J.J. Watt was healthy?
That's close. That's close. Aaron Donald, Rob Gronkowski, and J.J. Watt have been the best positional players I've seen in the last 10 years of football. And so I believe Aaron Donald is in that conversation for sure. And so when you look at that, I understand that's a hit, but that's why you go get Ndamukong Suh. And I believe that was a plan for the LA Rams in seeking out Suh, because when they were looking at him, we were like, okay, you have Aaron Donald, you have Michael Brockers. Why would you go out and bring in an attitude like that, a character like that, a personality like that? It's because he can play.
I've always
it's also because you don't know if you can get Aaron Donald signed. Obviously, we've seen on their priorities list, he isn't as high as we would have expected.
And not only that, I think the thing that's alarming is about take care of your own. I remember Ice Cube was talking to me yesterday. He was like, take care of your own. You bring in Aqib Talib. He's had some situations in his past, but I'm a fan of Aqib Talib. And I think that he's a plus on any roster in any secondary.
Absolutely.
Marcus Peters, my concern about him is the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs seemed eager to let him go.
Right.
And I need you to speak to me about that, because the combination of both of them in the locker room with Ndamukong Suh, with a coach that's about 31, 32 years of age, he's a puppy.
Is young. Yeah.
I mean, my Lord, I'm wondering about that. Aren't you?
I have been wondering, and I've reached out to people out there. From what I hear, Marcus is attached to Aqib. He's always with him. Those guys are always working together, always talking ball, always trying to take the next step. But Marcus Peters is trying to take that next step to where Aqib Talib was, which is top 2, top 3 corner in the league for the last 5 years.
Right.
And I think Marcus wants to get there. That's also a personality that he can gel with. A guy who's, a guy who hasn't necessarily always done the correct things.
He's a bit buck wild.
He's a big wild.
But elite.
But elite. And I think he and Marcus, that they vibe well together. Aubrey Pleasance, who's the defensive backs coach, has allowed them to be men. And I believe that their secondary has an opportunity to be one of the top secondaries, not only in coverage, but in turning the ball over. Aqib Talib is a guy who's had more pick sixes than most guys in the league. You look at Marcus Peters, a guy who's comes into the league almost 20 interceptions or 20 turnovers in his first 3 years. And so when you can do those things, you become special. And I think that this defense in the secondary will be that.
Two teams we haven't mentioned when we're talking about the NFC, Minnesota and Atlanta. Minnesota, NFC Championship game last year. Atlanta, Super Bowl the year before. Why not mention those two? What's missing?
Minnesota is still, to me, the exact same team they were last year.
Even with Kirk Cousins instead of Case Keenum?
Even with Kirk Cousins. You look at Case Keenum's level of play last year. The reason you get rid of Case Keenum is because his larger body of work says he won't be the same guy he was last year.
I agree with that.
That's why they got rid of him. Kirk, you know that steady baseline is play about around where Case was last year when you have Thielen and Diggs on the outside. And so I believe you get the same type of offensive production from Kirk as you did Case Keenum. Just you feel like you can get it for a more consistent and longevity basis. Defensively, I think they're going to be great, but I still don't think they have what it takes to beat Philadelphia, to beat the LA Rams in a playoff
even with
situation.
Dalvin Cook coming back?
Even with Dalvin, the advances in ACL repair have been remarkable. It used to be a death sentence for a football player. Now these guys get back a year after, but usually that next year they aren't the same. It takes about a year of actual playing, cutting, becoming comfortable on that knee before you get back to who you were before injury. So I think Dalvin's going to be about a year off from what we saw him early on in last year. And then when you go to Atlanta, you wonder, can they figure it out offensively?
Yeah.
Which Matt Ryan do you get? Do you get MVP season Matt Ryan that led this team to the NFC Championship and a Super Bowl? Or do you get the guy from last year and 3 years ago that turns the ball over in crucial situations?
I got to admit to you, I'm getting tired of having damn questions about him. He's one of the highest paid quarterbacks, highest paid players in football. He's been in the league for 10 years.
Absolutely.
Enough's enough. We have a right to expect more from Matt Ryan.
Stephen A., you remember coming out, Matt Ryan, the discussion was he was turnover prone. 19 turnovers his last year at Boston College. And so you were trying to figure out, does that carry over into the league, or was he trying to do too much because he didn't have the weapons? We've seen him revert back to that guy way too many times. And if he continues to turn the ball over in the red zone, continues to turn the ball over in pressure situations, this team can't win. They have an easier schedule this year, so we'll see if that allows them to kind of build a pad against the other teams in the NFC that allows them to get some type of home field advantage if making it to the playoffs.
I look at New Orleans and I say to them, myself, this is their year so long as they can stay away from Philadelphia for an NFC Championship game.
Scary.
They don't need to go to Lincoln Financial Field. If they could get people to come to the Dome.
Right.
They're going to the Super Bowl.
And I think that's the key, though, Stephen A. Do you play well enough this season in the NFC South? Do you win enough games against cross-match or cross-divisional opponents to host playoff games? Because for the New Orleans Saints, that's what it's about. If you can get teams to come to New Orleans, if you can get teams to play inside the Mercedes Superdome, you can win. I don't think you look at what they did against Minnesota, fighting back the way they did. Drew Brees having a great second half.
Yep.
They should have won that game.
Should have won that game.
You hear Alvin Kamara say, if we get to the NFC Championship, we win. I don't believe they do.
No.
I believe the Philadelphia Eagles.
They would have lost to Philadelphia.
Right. I believe the Philadelphia Eagles still beat them. And so for them, it's about getting home field advantage and allowing yourself to be in the comforts of your home and the comforts of your home stadiums with those fans and people behind you. Offensively, they're going to be amazing. We always know that that's the type of ball that Sean Payton and Drew Brees play. Michael Thomas, to me, takes the next step and ascends into elite wide receiver status.
Real quickly, Deshaun Watson, ACL. You talked about Dalvin Cook. I know it's a running back as opposed to a quarterback, but you still have that adjustment to make. How big of an adjustment? You talked about how big of an adjustment it'll be for Cook. What about for Deshaun?
I think it's a little bit less for Deshaun for two reasons. You mentioned one, he's a quarterback. He rushed for about 40 yards a game last year. So obviously his legs are a huge part of what he does. This is the second time he's gone through it. Right? So underneath, so he's a guy. Yeah, he's a guy who understands the limitations and what it's like to come back from it. And when we watched him play last year, it was his arm. It was his ability to get the ball down the field to guys like Fuller and DeAndre Hopkins and put them in situations to have one-on-one matchups and win 50-50 balls. And he's still going to do that. And I think his legs will get under him as the year goes along. This is fantasy football marathon.
That's
and
right.
Matthew Berry was raving about what he expected Deshaun Watson to do numbers-wise, and I agree with him. The thing that scares me is when you have this gunslinger mentality, which we love in quarterbacks to take chances, can he keep the turnovers down?
Speaking of gunslingers, that's why the Kansas City Chiefs elected to get rid of Alex Smith and bring in this kid, Patrick Mahomes. Now, damn it, the guy's a puppy in the NFL, for crying out loud. He's a baby.
He's a baby.
Okay, how the hell are everybody raving about? I ran into Travis Kelce. He's raving about him. Kareem Hunt. He's raving about him. I'm like, what is this? What is this guy? I mean, he just got here. But they're talking about him this way. How big of a threat do you think Kansas City is going to be with this guy, real quickly?
He scares me. If you read anything about training camps and trying to keep up with those things, he's thrown a lot of picks in practice.
Yeah.
And this is in a secondary in Kansas City. It's without Marcus Peters.
That's
now,
right.
The guy who turns the ball over. And I think he does have that mentality. The reason you rave about him, Stephen A., is the same reason you and I love Aaron Rodgers so much. When the ball comes out of this guy's hands,
it looks pretty.
It's different, right? I hear you talk all the time about Steph Curry being the best shooter
I've ever seen.
That you've ever seen.
Right.
When it comes out of Steph's hands, it's different.
Right.
It's the same thing with Patrick Mahomes.
Really?
When he's on the run, when he's going away from pressure, even to his left, he can square his shoulders and get the ball down the field like no one else can. And when you can do those things, you get excited. When you can do those things, you get rid of guys like Alex Smith because you want to see what he can do to push the ball down the field and accelerate offense for your team.
So with that being said, who's the biggest threat to the New England Patriots for supremacy within the AFC? We've got Kansas City. We've got Pittsburgh.
Okay, yeah, I'm just making sure.
I'm a Steelers fan.
Yeah,
even though I'm more loyal than you. You left.
That is not.
You won a Super Bowl and left.
Hey, no,
you left.
You know what that means?
I never left.
Hey, you know what that means? We are both super loyal. Teams ain't loyal.
That's right. So which one you got?
Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay.
I'm still with the Pittsburgh Steelers. If the Ben Roethlisberger I expect to shows up, this team will be nearly unstoppable offensively. You add defensive players who have a physical mindset. You have Bostic in the middle now along with Vinny Williams. Obviously, Cam Hayward is a dog up front. Artie Burns, I've been watching practice film and watching practice tape to see him work. This team is going to be better this year defensively. I think this team is poised to make another run to the Super Bowl.
Last question for you. Khalil Mack not signed. We're hearing that the Raiders might trade him. They ain't going to get any money until October when those checks come. Until then, they're short on cash. I still find it inexcusable. If you can pay John Gruden, you can pay Khalil Mack.
100%.
That's how I feel about
100%.
it. But Khalil Mack, Aaron Donald, guys like that, Odell Beckham Jr. to a lesser degree, Le'Veon Bell in Pittsburgh. Who's the most important signing to get done?
Odell Beckham Jr. Odell Beckham Jr. And here's why. I think when you look at Le'Veon, I do think he's the best back in the league, but backs come around. You can find guys who are good backs and good enough backs to carry teams. You look at the last few Super Bowl winners, who's had the dominant back in the league and won a Super Bowl. So that's not really a position that guarantees that. If you look at Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald, though great players, can change the game defensively, don't have the ball in their hands enough to change the face or the fates of franchises. 13 in New York does. We saw that team with him. You saw Eli with him, and we've seen him without. He has to be a guy you have locked in long term.
Appreciate the knowledge as always, Ryan
Hey, man,
Clark.
good time, brother.
Benedict Arnold that you are. You understand? We'll definitely talk. Ryan Clark, NFL analyst extraordinaire for ESPN right here truly with your boy Stephen A. Smith. By the way, it's been a long season without football, but FanDuel has spent it getting into the best shape of their lives. That means this. FanDuel is ready for more. More ways to play, more ways to challenge your friends, and most importantly, more ways to win. And FanDuel also has new options for playing daily fantasy with your friends, because the only thing better than winning cash is winning your friends cash. They even have preseason fantasy contests running up to week 1 of the NFL season. Right now, you can get a $20 bonus when you make your first deposit on FanDuel. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/Stephen A. That's with a PH, not a V. Age and state restrictions apply. More of the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio and ESPN News in a minute.
Ow. Yep, you guessed it. I'm a speed bump, so I've got one job. I slow you down. So imagine how I feel about Geico, who does way more. Like, not only could they save you money on car insurance, but they've been around for over 75 years, giving people fast and friendly claim service. Ow. Plus, they got a nifty mobile app that gives you 24/7 access. Ow. Just doing my job, buddy.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
By the way, if I'm going fantasy football, number one running back I'm taking is Todd Gurley. Number one running back I'm taking is Todd Gurley. I think Sean McVay is going to give him the ball all day, every day. Normally I would take Le'Veon Bell, but I got questions. I got suspicions about how he's going to be utilized or how he's going to allow himself to be utilized. Since the Steelers franchised him yet again, he's playing on a 1-year deal, looking for a long-term deal. I don't know if I trust that Le'Veon Bell's going to get treated right. I don't know if he's going to allow the Steelers to give him the ball 409 times like they did 406 times rather like they did last year. 321 carries, 85 receptions. I don't think he's going to let them run into the ground. He's not trying to become the modern-day DeMarco Murray, where Jerry Jones and Jason Garrett and the Dallas Cowboys ran him into the ground, and then they didn't want to pay him, and he had to depart for the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think Le'Veon Bell is going to let that happen to him. Obviously, when you think about the top running backs in fantasy football, to me, it's about Todd Gurley, Le'Veon Bell, Ezekiel Elliott, Saquon Barkley, David Johnson for Arizona, of course, Kareem Hunt, Alvin Kamara. Those are to me on my top 7. When I think about the quarterbacks, I think about Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. I think about tight ends. I think about Rob Gronkowski. Jimmy Graham playing with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I think that'll be interesting. Defensively, Jacksonville's the team, the elite team in fantasy football as far as I'm concerned. Chargers are up there, though. Los Angeles Chargers. Rams going to be up there, too. Eagles going to be up there. Minnesota's going to be up there. But I go with Jacksonville. So we'll see what happens. By the way, on another note, 30 NBA teams, odds out of Vegas, Westgate over and unders for total wins of the season. All 30 teams. They got Atlanta with the lowest, 23.5. The over or under on Atlanta, 23.5 wins. I'll take the under. Brooklyn, 32.5 wins. I'll take the under. Boston, 57.5 wins. I think that's about right. Charlotte, 35 wins. I think that's about right. Chicago, 27 wins. I think that's about right. Cleveland at 30 wins. I take the under. Dallas at 34 wins. I think that's about right. Denver, the 47.5 wins. I'm going to take the over. Even though Michael Porter Jr. is somebody I suspect should not have been drafted because I think those back injuries are legit. We'll see. I got a lot of faith in the Denver Nuggets this year on the basketball front. I got a lot of faith in them. They missed the playoffs in the last game of the season, losing at Minnesota. I think Denver makes the playoffs this year. Detroit, 37.5. No, I think they're going to be over. I think they'll be better than that. Golden State, 62.5. No, I'm going to be under. I'm going to take the under. I don't think the Warriors are going to win that many games because I don't think they're going to prioritize winning that many games. I think you'll see Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson take significant games off. They know what's coming after them. They're about championships. They ain't about regular season success. Houston at 54.5 wins. No, I take the over. I don't think there's going to be an 11-game drop-off for Houston or a 10.5-game drop-off. I think they're going to win between 55 and 58 games. I think Golden State's going to win about 59 games, have the number 1 seed. I think the Lakers are going to win about 52 or 53 games. Their number's at 48.5. I'm taking the over for the Lakers. The under for the Clippers because they're at 35.5. I think that's about right, actually. Indiana, 47.5. I think it's going to be 47. Memphis at 34 wins. I'll go under. Miami at 41. I'll say about 42 wins a season. The Knicks, Philadelphia at 54.5. I'll go under. I think Six is going to win about 52 games. New Orleans, 45.5. I think that's about right. They'll go about 45-37. Oklahoma City at 50.5. I think that's about right. Portland, 41.5. I'll take the over. I think they'll win more than that. The New York Knicks, 29.5. Vegas says. 29.5. Before I respond, let me first play you what Kevin Knox for the New York Knicks had to say. Do we have that sound or is there a quote? There's just a quote. Kevin Knox spoke to the New York Post. And he was told of the projection that the Knicks would win 29.5 games. This is the Knicks rookie sensation from the Summer League out of Kentucky. Told of the Knicks 29-win projection. Listen to this quote from Kevin Knox. People are sleeping on us with the 29 wins. I think we definitely can win at least 35 games and get in that playoff talk. That's my personal opinion. Everyone has their own opinion, but the whole team, I'm pretty confident we're really good this year, that we have a chance to make the playoffs. No Kristaps Porzingis. Nothing of relevancy but a call from a guy by the name of Frank just the other day swearing that Joakim Noah and Ron Baker Joakim Noah and Ron Baker are going to make the difference. It makes me think about Rob Crandall on the honeymooners. They're going to make a world of difference. For a second there, I didn't know what you're doing. Ron Baker and Joakim Noah. Okay. Anyway. That quote is funny because he said, I definitely think we can win at least 35 wins. Wow. What an improvement. What an improvement. Anyway, back to the phones we go. 888-SAY-ESPN. Let's get to Sam. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
How's it going, Steve?
I'm good. Talking.
Love your show.
Appreciate it.
I think you bring the realism to the sports, and I hope you keep doing it, my brother.
I ain't changing, so we good. Go ahead.
My thing is, I'm calling about the disrespect or lack of respect that the Eagles are getting from around the league. Now, I know it's not you, Steve, and I know it's a lot of other people picking teams that the Eagles beat last year. The Rams. I mean, they're up and coming, but why so much disrespect coming to the Eagles when, they gotten better. They added more depth to that defense. I mean, they're suspect anywhere. Maybe the secondary, maybe. But hopefully Sidney Jones will be worth, he was a good player before he got hurt. Mm-hmm. Tell me what your thoughts about that.
Well, here's my problem with what you're saying. First of all, I think you're being entirely too emotional. And here's why I think you're being emotional. Who's knocked off the Eagles? They're the reigning defending Super Bowl champions who a lot of people suspect will still remain in the hunt. The Eagles have gotten some love. That's number one. Number two, any question mark is about Carson Wentz, and the reports just came out a few minutes ago, by the way. And I'm reading right from Tim McManus, ESPN staff writer. He says Eagles quarterback Carson Wentz believes the decision of whether to play him in the season opener against the Atlanta Falcons is going to come down to the wire. Quote, I think there's been really no secret that it's going to be close. Seeing where I'm at in camp and finally, hopefully next week, doing 11 on 11, I think naturally it's going to be close. Ultimately, it won't be just my call or the coach's call. It will come down to what the doctors say, really. So there's a question mark about what the doctors feel and how much he's going to be able to give you. So if you got questions about Carson Wentz, I don't think it's about the Philadelphia Eagles collectively. I think it's about disbelief in Nick Foles in comparison to the belief in Carson Wentz. And I think that's where the question mark comes in, Sam.
Okay, I appreciate that, and you know what, I respect that. You know, I just feel like people slept on Nick Foles in the playoffs.
Well, why? Hold on, time out. Didn't you? Come on now. When we saw Nick Foles, the only season that he had was when he threw 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions with Chip Kelly, and then after that he fell off the map. Now, obviously, he was contaminated by the presence of Jeff Fisher in St. Louis. We recognize that, which is why he's no longer a head coach in the National Football League. But nevertheless, Nick Foles didn't give you anything to write home and brag about until he got to the playoffs last year. So there were huge question marks about him, and I thought they were all legitimate.
I got it. I respect you, Steve.
Right.
You know, you're the one person I respect because you're real, and you know what? I'm glad you on there. You got your show. You know, they should rename ESPN Stephen A. Smith Network.
I'm good, bro. I appreciate the love, though, man. Thanks so much. Keep it coming. Let's go to Henry real quick. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Yes, how you doing, Steve? Thank you for receiving my call.
Go ahead, buddy.
I'm calling in I'm a lifelong New York Knicks fan.
Yes, my condolences to you, too. We both are in the same boat.
I understand that. Now, and instead of making us a respectable team again by not hiring Mark Jackson, we got a few more years to find out how bad this next coach is going to take us. I want to know, do you know any inside things why the Knicks organization is not hiring Mark Jackson as the coach? And he's a proven winner.
Well, first of all, David Fizdale is not chopped liver, bro. He can coach. He has a winning pedigree as an assistant in Miami for 4 straight trips to the finals. He took the Memphis Grizzlies to the playoffs his first year. The second year, there was a fallout between him and Marc Gasol, and obviously Memphis was moving in a different direction, and those things didn't work out personality-wise. But David Fizdale is universally respected throughout NBA circles, and I think that here's my inside. This is my belief, but it's just a belief, Henry. Okay, I believe Mark Jackson needed to be hired not just because of his basketball acumen, but because he epitomized a complete culture change. We wouldn't be worried about James Dolan anymore. We wouldn't be worried about everybody else under him being puppets on the string because Mark Jackson don't roll that way. And because of the St. John's roots, because of the New York Knicks Rookie of the Year roots, because of his New York roots in Queens, New York, O'Connell Park, City College, and the Summer League and beyond, when he spoke, people would listen. And I think that James Dolan personally didn't want that. I like Steve Mills a lot. I got a lot of faith in him. Scott Perry has an impeccable reputation in NBA circles. All right. And David Fizdale is not chopped liver. This man could coach. But if I had to venture to guess, I think, and don't, let me be clear, Steve Mills categorically denies this. It was his call, him and Scott Perry. They're comfortable with the pick. James Dolan supposedly never interfered. But it is my personal belief, but only a belief, that James Dolan would not be keen towards having a guy like Mark Jackson because Mark Jackson would speak up and speak out. And as a result, it might be a hindrance for James Dolan in New York City, and James Dolan didn't want that. That's just my opinion.
Yes, well, thank you for your truth and insight, and I was telling all my boys, I grew up in the Garden in the 70s. I was a vendor there, 73. So I grew up when they was great, going down and coming back. And thank you for your honesty, because Mark Jackson was the only one of the only ones that had the foresight to know that Steph Curry was going to be as great as he has become.
I got you. I got to run. I appreciate the call, Henry. Thank you so much. I would have liked to see Mark Jackson in New York, but if we can't have Mark Jackson, I'm incredibly happy with David Fizdale, who I think has a chance to do a great job if they get him the talent. We'll see whether or not they get a healthy Kyrie Irving or Kevin Durant next summer. We shall see. 888-SAY-ESPN. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. By the way, when you're hiring, you don't want to waste time sorting through dozens of irrelevant resumes. You want an efficient way to get to a short list of qualified candidates. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes, set up screening questions based on your job requirements, then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. Discover why 3 million businesses use Indeed for hiring. Post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. Search for greatness. Search Indeed. We'll close out the show with your calls in a minute. You're listening live to Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
By the way, Josh Norman, cornerback for the Washington Redskins, raving about Sam Darnold, how he looked good My producer wanted me to mention that because obviously it's such a big deal. It's a joint practice. It's not a preseason game. It's not an NFL game, but it touches my producer's heart because he's rooting so much for the New York Jets that far be it for me to be objective. Far be it for me to point out that it's just a damn joint practice. But he wants to rave about Sam Darnold as if millions of people saw him on Monday Night Football throw for 500 yards. But no, my producer, he's been good in practice. Did you hear that Josh Norman said that about him? This is the kind of nonsense that I have to deal with. The man has interrupted me while I admittedly am watching my soap General Hospital during a commercial break for that. That's why he interrupted me, to tell me that Josh Norman raved about Sam Darnold in a practice. Congratulations. Bravo, Jonathan Winthrop. Bravo. 888-SAY-ESPN. Back to the phones we go. Andrew, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Yo, what's up, Stephen? Now, I want to talk about Aaron Rodgers. When I see Aaron Rodgers right now, I'm looking at a man right now who was really disgusted, not only with his rookies, but with the coaching staff, the GM, for not preparing those rookies to come in and work with him. I think more of what he said was more of a shot towards them. And second, when he came in and said, if I got to be the one to say it, then I got to be the one to say it.
Yeah, but he still called them out. I mean, you're absolutely right. He wasn't directing it at just the players, but clearly they weren't immune or he wasn't going to discriminate, in their favor. I can tell you that much. He spoke out against them as well. But I got to get on out of here, man. I appreciate the call. Thank you so much. Aaron Rodgers is a bad man. He's the greatest quarterback that I've ever seen talent-wise, but not the greatest in terms of accomplishments, because obviously that belongs to the great Tom Brady himself. Lots more to get into. And we will as the week progresses. NFL action, NBA action. I got to talk a little boxing as well. It's creeping.